Am I on? Okay. Hello. All right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do today is I have a lot of sex ed questions that I should have answered and never got the chance to answer. And I have a lot of them posted. So I'm gonna be answering some of those. And then if people have any questions with regards to like their comments, then you can like ask away and I'm happy to answer as they pop up. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask them to basically like sign the TAs to timestamp. Um, and I think the timestamp would maybe help if you will have additional questions after that. Hi, Kyle. All right. Okay, yeah. And I look really tired because I took like a 10-minute nap because I was really tired. Okay, so it's not going in any order. It's just whatever I can answer at the moment, and then I'm gonna answer more and more as I possibly can. Okay, and a lot of people didn't know about it because I told fourth period because it was an idea I had since yesterday. Okay, so questions that people have asked. Let's start with um okay, so I'm gonna do a lot of the sex ones first because that's definitely the heart of what we're doing at the moment. Does the female orgasm help reproduction? The answer is no, because it's like an added bonus. As I've kind of said in class, the reason that females undergo orgasm in the first place is because males have the ability to orgasm. And because we all come from the same cell, and so sometimes we share similar characteristics. So we just happen to have the functionality of orgasm. So, yes. Okay. Does the vagina hurt when the penis is inserted into it? The answer in general is no. It may hurt if there isn't enough lubrication, but generally it does not hurt because if you think about it, um, a baby comes out of the vagina, so a penis usually would not be big enough. Okay. Um, does the lube go on the penis if wearing a condom, or is it only found on condoms? You can put extra lube on the condom because not all condoms are made alike and not all of them necessarily are with lubrication. And the lubrication may not be enough. But they're also found sometimes on condoms as well. And I think that's something a lot of people saw when they were working with condom labs. So, yeah. Okay, let me see what else. And I'm just going to check from time to time to see if other people have questions. I'm assuming that a lot of people are just going to listen because it's anonymous questions for a lot of them. How do you know when you orgasm? You know because it's going to feel different from all the other sensations that you may feel when you are having sex. Um, and it's kind of different for everyone, so it's hard to say like this is exactly that moment. But some people may think that they are like it's like they think that they're about to go to the bathroom, like to urinate. That's how sometimes it feels for someone, but then it's not, and you basically find out when you're at that peak. Um, is there any difference between silicone and water-based gel besides staining and how long they last? No, it's really the materials. It's one is silicone-based and one is water-based. And just to repeat, water-based is the one that's very natural, and so it's more similar to our natural lubrication. So it has a possibility of really getting absorbed very fast, whereas silicone, not so much. but silicone has the potential to stain. So, but in general, sex can be messy, so it's sometimes nice to have a towel. And maybe I think there's might be differences in cost, but I feel like that really also depends on brand. So yeah. Okay. Um. Okay. Some of them I don't know the answers at the moment, so I'm gonna kind of skip it and I'll come back because I'm gonna do like a lot of these. That's why this is only part one. Okay. So do only gay people have do anal sex? And then the similar question is, how do gay people have sex? Um, it's like everybody else. It just kind of, so the do only gay men have anal sex? And the answer is no. That's definitely a preference. Anybody with basically an anus can have anal sex, so it doesn't have to be gay men. And how do gay people have sex? This depends, I think, because gay refers to like homosexual, like those. It's like an umbrella term these days, right? For like those who are like homosexual, but they're men. They're attracted to like men, attracted to men. But it could also be lesbians. So I think it depends on that because that will determine the type of genitalia that is that is in play. And yeah, so sometimes oral sex definitely for both. And I would think anal sex for gay males, and you can also have different, like you can still stimulate the penis and like to for each other, like with mutual masturbation, and that goes also for stimulating the vulva to each other, and that could be a way that um lesbians have sex. It could also be with strap-ons, dildos, the sex toys. So there's that too. Okay, now let me move on to kind of something different. Do, 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 do. Uh, okay. Does it matter what material a condom is made of? Mm, I don't really think so. It's usually it's big. The big two are the latex and the non-latex, and that's really it's kind of like gloves. Like it depends on your allergy. I understand. More than that, it's really in the components. Like, does it have spermicide? Does it like have lubrication? Like the fit or the thinness, or the comfort. I think those kinds of things matter more to people, and so the material could matter depending on the person. Um, so yeah, apparently there's this random little story. There's like a subscription box that like you can try out different condoms on. And I forgot what it's called, but I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So, like I think it's good to kind of, if like one condom doesn't fit that great for you, there probably is something out there that will. It's just a matter of trial and error. So there's that. Okay, are condoms only ineffective because people don't use them correctly, or are there actually issues within their design? I think that people it's really ineffective because people don't use them correctly. Like a lot of times people don't unwrap it properly because in the movies it looks really cool when you like pretend this band-aid is a condom and they like do it with their teeth and they like rip it open, but that actually you can actually bite into the condom, the rubber itself, and then rip, and that makes it makes a tear on the condom. A lot of people, when they apply, squeeze the top, but you're supposed to do that before you like unroll it, and or unroll it the wrong way. And so there's just a lot of different ways that condoms could be misused. Of course, there are issues within their design, but again, like human error is, I think, the biggest thing for a lot of these contraceptives. Yes, there probably is sometimes issues with designs, as with every product. There could be a faulty product, but that's very little because they are very tested. If you ever go on YouTube, if you go on YouTube, there's like videos that show you like how condoms are tested, and they like stretch them and like put in water to see like how big they get and all these things. So I feel like with the amounts of testing that they go through, the chances of a faulty condom is pretty small, whereas people not knowing how to use them correctly is pretty large. So I really do think it's important. I think YouTube is actually a pretty good place for that, to like kind of remember how to use a condom when you do need it, or to like look up different sites, um, or to read the label. But sometimes labels are kind of harder to understand in order for you to have practice safe sex. Okay. How does a patch work? So a patch is something that is applied onto like your arm. It's kind of like a band-aid. Hey, look, this has so much use. And in the band-aid, it basically has a little bit of hormones that get released daily, little by little, into your body. And that hormone basically keeps the estrogen and the progesterone level up. And so it makes you feel that it fakes that pregnancy. And it's different from the pill because you don't have to change it. You don't have to like take one every day. It's like every once in a while. So, yeah. Uh, that's why. Yes. To prevent getting pregnant, do you need to use birth control and condoms, or one or the other? So it is always better to use a combination to prevent pregnancy, but definitely for preventing pregnancy, condoms are not shown to be very effective, primarily because of human error. And so it's much better to try to use a hormonal birth control. For females who are interested in using hormonal birth control, I think that a lot of people start with like pills, patch, shot, like something that's a little more regular, something you have to kind of take regularly, only because that hormone may not be a great fit for you, and then kind of move up to like IUDs and implants. So, yeah. Okay, next one. Um, won't oral sex cause health problems? Yeah. If you have STIs like in the genitalia, and then somebody decides to perform oral sex on that person with the genitalia that has STIs, yes, that could become a problem. Like herpes, you can get then herpes orally, right? You can also get herpes by kissing. So there is a lot of different ways a person can get herpes outside, or a lot of the STIs, not all, but some, without necessarily having sex. Like I found out today that a lot of the STIs could be transferred from mother to baby and mother to fetus. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I swim a lot and have been getting itchy recently. Is this normal? Mm, I don't really know what you mean necessarily by itchy. I think it depends. I think it's hard for me to, I shouldn't be diagnosing because I don't have an MD. So I suggest that if you feel like it's something abnormal for you, go to a doctor and ask to be diagnosed so that you can get a proper diagnosis. Yeah. Oh yeah. So with the syphilis thing, I found out that yes, syphilis can be passed on from mom to baby. So, the syphilis experiment, that's Tuskegee. So yeah, just letting you know. Do, 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 do. Okay. Why should one get the HPV shot? Because it's known to cause cervical cancer, and it's very a prevalent type of HPV. It's a very prevalent type of STI. Doesn't mean a death sentence like everything else. And a lot of times people don't even know that they have HPV, because the percentage of people who have it is like 70 to 80%, which is very high. But you know, everything to prevent cancer, and why not? Is HPV a process of 3 shots? Yes, it is. It hurts more than a flu shot. That's what I personally thought when I got them when I was younger. It was because it's intermuscular, so it goes in, I think, a little bit deeper. And you do have to wait a certain number of months to get the next successive shots. It's like a titer, so it boosts the vaccination every once in a while. So you can't just get all 3 in a row. That doesn't work. Why is HPV so common? Because it's one of the very few viruses that have 40 different strains. All the other STIs don't have that much of a variety. When 2 people want a child but don't want an STI, how can they have a child if they don't want an infection? Wait, what? When 2 people want a child but don't want an STI, how can they have a child? Well, first, both partners should get tested and to find out if they have been infected. And then if one of them is infected, then they should either cure it or try to get it managed. And for virals, it's like say a person has herpes or HPV, as long as the genital warts are not visible, and as long as, well, HPV is one of those things that like usually won't affect the other person, um, assuming you got the vaccination for the ones that are needed. And so sometimes people just are like okay with it to get, I think, more than the others. Like for gonorrhea, syphilis, and things, you should get treated first. Yeah, and then you can have a child. And after sex, you should also be tested. So being tested frequently is the key. Can masturbating too much lead to problems during intercourse, such as ED? I don't know what ED means. Does anyone know? But the answer is no. Masturbation does not. Of course, like say you like masturbated right before intercourse, then so males are known to, after they orgasm, they need a period of rest before they're able to get another erection. So that may be influential. But for females, like they can have multiple orgasms in like a very short period of time. So that doesn't really matter. Yeah, I don't know what ED means. So here we go. This one I don't actually know the answer to, but let me look this up. Actually, I'll try to find it later because I don't want to necessarily waste people's time. Why is it that some sexual acts don't seem to make sense as to why they exist? Being aroused by feces/urine or breast milk. I think people are turned on by different types of things. Just kind of like sometimes we have preferences for different types of people and like their weird quirks. And sometimes your friend is like, I don't know why you like this guy because of the way because of something or like his behavior. But some people will be like, wow, but that's like a really attractive point. So I think it's like that. Sometimes what it may not make sense to us, but maybe it makes sense to them. It's just a preference. What is the advantage of circumcision? The advantage of circumcision is that it prevents a lot of infection from occurring. That's really it. And then it's like aesthetics and religions reasons. Yeah. And then, are male nipples the same as female nipples? Yes, they're homologous. Are male nipples sensitive too? I believe so because they are the same functionality. They may be a little less because we don't have the same levels of hormones in our bodies. So not 100%, but I would think that there are people who may have sensitive nipples, and they go by males. Why do males have nipples? The same reason why women orgasm. It's just a homology. Why are some breasts bigger than others from an evolutionary standpoint? Well, evolution says that everyone has variation. It doesn't mean like bigger breasts, like every like breast got bigger over a long period of time. So I think it's just a variation. It could be that maybe in the, I don't know if, I don't think so, but because like I was like, if bigger breasts say like gave out more milk, I could see an evolutionary standpoint coming from it, but I don't think that's necessarily true. So, because you see people like women, like moms with like very big babies, and you're like, oh, but you feed them with your breast milk, so that's probably enough for the kid, and the kid's huge. So I feel like I don't think there is necessarily an evolutionary advantage, or has there been like an increase over time of breasts? And if there has, it might be a sexual selection, but I don't think that's really true. Okay. Um, what does the vulva do? The vulva is basically the entire like female anatomy, like of the genitalia area. So it includes like the outer labia, the inner labia, the vagina, the openings, and things like that. So but we just call it the vulva because a lot of people think it's the vagina, but vagina is inside. Are vagina and vulva similar? Similar because vulva is the bigger part and vagina is only a part of it, but vagina is inside. It's the birth canal, basically. Um, why is it acidic in the vagina? Because it's trying to protect itself from getting bacterial infections. And a good way to regulate that is by regulating the pH, just like stomach. It's very acidic. Vagina is pretty acidic too. Not as acidic as the stomach, because then I think sperms would die too. But yes. Okay. All right. That was pretty good. Um, what age do girls get periods? A lot of people are asking these like statistical questions. And I don't know numbers right on top of my head. So what age do girls get periods? Let's look. Most girls start to menstruate between the ages of 10 to 15 years, with the average age being 12. Um, mm, okay, that's cool. Just letting you know. But if you feel like you haven't started and you're panicking, I think it is also genetic. So ask your mom when she got her first period if she remembers. And I think that but for the most part, at your age, if you haven't started, doesn't mean you're not normal. I think it's just sometimes people start late, and some people, due to their physical kinds of activities or their body weight, they may not necessarily get their periods. So there is a little bit of that too. Um, what causes irregular periods? This has a lot of different kinds of bases. One of them is definitely hormones, especially in puberty. Your hormones are like raging up and down. Stress, physical exertion, activities. Like if you lose a lot of weight, sometimes like people can't, um, like your periods just sometimes stop when you're very stressed. That can also happen. So yeah, so it could be caused by a lot of different factors. Um, Yeah, but usually it's a real lifestyle thing. But some people genetically and naturally have a regular cycle. So they don't have a consistent cycle of like 28 to 32 days or whatever. Why do periods hate girls? Um, I think it's about cramps. And this one I need to actually search up. So I'm going to come back to this later. Is it okay to have sex while on your period? Yes, it is. It's just a little messy because you have menstrual fluids at the same time, kind of mixed in with this sex and the reproductive fluid at the same time, but you can certainly have it. It's as long as your partner is okay with it, really, it's totally okay. Yeah. Why is it that some people have their men's cycle once in every 3 months and not one? Because there is no such a thing as a normal. Everybody's different. As long as it's consistent, like when I went to an OB-GYN and asked about this, like they said, as long as it's consistent for you, at some point at this age, it won't be very consistent. But after a certain point, say like after high school, you'll start to see a pattern in the menstruation cycle. And as long as that pattern is kept, you're fine. What do periods feel like? I think this differs for a lot of people because sometimes people don't get a single cramp and they're like totally fine. And then there are people who are like dying and need like an aspirin or like those pill relievers. It feels like something is coming out of the vagina, I would think, because it's basically that's what it is. The blood linings are basically coming out. And it's something that you can't just stop. Like if you can voluntarily stop going to the bathroom so you don't pee by accident, but period stuff, it just flows. So yeah. Why do people feel tired after masturbation? I may have answered this one, but basically masturbation is basically when people have reached that peak of sexual pleasure, so you need to come down because you just reached a peak. So you feel tired because you need to recover from that masturbation time point. But females can get multiple rounds of um, orgasm. I think when people say tired after masturbation is because they're saying like after I've reached orgasm, like why do I feel tired? And that's the reason why. And why do periods span over several days? Because the linings are pretty thick and not all of it can come out at the same time. You have to remember that these linings are used to house babies for 9 months. So it does span over several days. Um, why do hymens get stretched? Because it's a tissue that covers the opening or inside the vagina. So it can't, in order for a penis to enter, the hymen is going to have to get broken in a lot of the cases, but of course it depends on the shape of the hymen. So when people say you're losing the hymen, it just means that the hymen tears. Why does the hymen bleed when it's broken? Because when you fracture or you break open anything, you bleed. So it's a tissue that sits over inside your vagina. It's like a tunnel, and then there's like a covering on it, and it rips. So it's going to bleed. Is there a purpose for the hymen scientifically, or is it a vestigial trait? As far as I know, there is no scientific purpose. Um, I don't know if anybody's ever found one. That's a pretty cool question. It could be a vestigial trait. I think in modern day, it definitely is a vestigial trait. But scientifically, I don't know. I'll have to look that one up, and I'll look it up. Can you discuss the idea of abortion? I wasn't actually planning to, but then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I should. So I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow and then do communication starting on Friday. So yeah, I will do it. Why can't people have babies after a certain age? This is because menstruation cycle stops for women after a certain age because there is a very limited number of eggs that the ovary has and they don't make any more, unlike male where they keep producing more and more sperms every day. So because of that, there is a limited number of eggs, and when your menstruation cycle stops, which is called menopause, um then you cannot have babies. But the men, like you can have like babies when you're 70, when you're 90, and basically anytime after puberty. Um, why do parents choose to get their kids circumcised? Aesthetics, religion, because all their friends' parents do it, or health reasons. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like why do parents sometimes choose to get their kids' ears pierced? It's like that. Does it matter between the two? Not really. Sometimes I think doctors would recommend it for medical reasons. Um, the line between joke and sexual assault. Okay. So I think the line between joke and sexual assault has a lot to do with the receiver and how they receive it. If you feel really uncomfortable and you didn't feel like it was a joke, that is not necessarily sexual assault, but it is something that has made you uncomfortable. So you should address it either with the person who has said something or with someone else that can help you to kind of get that fact straight. Because sometimes what we take as a joke is not funny to others. And it's really important to communicate that to the other person so that they are fully aware. If they are aware that you are not comfortable and they are still continuing to do it despite your request to stop, that becomes something at which point you should be reporting to an authority or somebody who can have put a stop to that situation. Because then it does not, I think assault is a bit of a strong word, but maybe harassment. So I think it definitely escalates to sexual harassment. And then sexual assault, I think, is more with the touching. Like if they're physically in your space and they are like touching areas that you don't want to be touched, that's more what we consider to be sexual assault. Although I think harassment does also fall into assault as well. But in the beginning, I think it's really a joke. It could be like a joke, and then you have to communicate that it's not okay. And then if it continues, then you bring it to the authorities because repeated offenses are harassments, and then it becomes something of maybe of an assault. So what is the difference between aromantic and asexual? So I'm gonna give my FYI that I don't belong into the LGBTQ community, so I may not be representing them 100% because even though we define things as like aromantic is this, asexual is this, but just like how heterosexuality is very like it's defined this way, but everybody kind of does different things. I think that's the same thing with aromantic and asexual. There is a definition, but within that definition, there is a lot of details that we miss. So, aromantic, a is a prefix for not. So, basically, aromantic is someone who does not, I think, feel any kind of like romantic feelings towards somebody else. Um, that doesn't necessarily, and they're very like happy with like friendships. But they can have like casual sex because that's not as long as it's not intimately like romantically tied. As that's how I understand it. Asexual is not going undergoing sexual activities because they don't feel aroused by that or they don't really like the idea of having sex, which is perfectly fine. Um, just because we talk a lot about sex ed doesn't mean you have to have sex. It's a choice. Um, if you are married, can you and your spouse consent to having sex with other people? Yes. You can, well, there's the not consent, which is the cheating proportion, and that's not okay because that hurts people's feelings. But can you and your spouse consent to having sex with other people? Sure. Yeah, I think like the swapping happens in like a different kind of like it's not I'm not married, so I don't know the marriage life and world. But yeah, I think it's a lot about communication, about getting that consent and to be okay with it. And it happens in relationships too, because lately this idea of like having an open relationship is like a big thing where sometimes people are like, yeah, you can have casual sex with other people, but you can't be like emotionally attached and involved. And it just the only thing is, I think these days, especially with relationships, is do you and your partner like talking the same lingo? Like, are you guys on the same page? And are you guys agreeing to the same standards and values? And as long as that's being done, then that's fine. If you're dating someone, is cheating on them illegal? No, but it could be immoral and hurtful. Is cheating on, what about if somebody is engaged? Still no, but it's hurtful and mean. And assuming that, yeah, because if you cheat, that means you didn't talk about it. And is cheating on people if you're married illegal? That one does cover some legal grounds, I think, because you can, like, that could be a reason for divorce. And it's not illegal necessarily, but you can have legal retributions, like, because the division of how your properties and your money divided could be different if you are the person who has cheated and the person did not. So then the court may be like, well, this person gets like more money or whatever than this person. So it's not illegal, but retributions. What is abstinence? Abstinence is not having sex. Is it illegal for somebody above the age of 18 and under 18 to engage in a sexual activity together? Yes. That's the short answer. If it's like, if they're like 3 years above you, if they're like, 21 and under, it's called a misdemeanor. And then if they, which is like a charge that's as bad as like drunk driving, and then, or I think so. And then if they're over 21, it's a felony. So yeah. Um. Okay. I think that's a pretty good number. I answered, I think, a pretty good number of these, and I will try to post something for you guys. I'm not intending to make them super long, partially because I'm so tired. I hope you're all doing really well. Somebody also asked me, last question was like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? My favorite ice cream flavor is strawberry. And then somebody was like, if you beat second, are you first? No, you're second because, right? Because if you beat the second place person, aren't you in second place? I think. So, and if two vegans have an argument, is it still beef? Hmm. I guess so. I think so. Or if it hurts these feelings, you call it arguments. If you punch yourself and it hurts, are you really strong or really weak? Why are these so meta questions? I don't know. If I punch myself and it really hurts, are you really strong or really weak? I can't really say about the physicality, but I think I could comment on that person's perhaps partial intelligence, that you shouldn't be punching yourself because it's going to hurt. And why would you hurt yourself? So, nah. Okay. So, okay. There are some pretty cool questions like how to nicely reject someone, but I'm gonna save that because that one we're gonna actually do. The communications is just like this other big topic we just haven't finished. Okay. I'm wondering if the people who are watching have other general questions. So do you have other general questions? Doesn't have to be about sex ed. It could be about anything before I go. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum. I'm guessing not. Tomorrow's temp check is on protein synthesis, so please study that. I think it'll be fine. And yeah, I think we're good. Okay, I will probably put part 2 of Q&A sometime. Maybe tomorrow if I'm feeling ambitious. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.